This person is trying to run a restaurant, yet is sabotaged every step of the way by
spoiled, entitled brats
who want a paycheck but don't want people working for pennies.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Adam, did you hear about, actually I asked you this before the show, you had not heard about the Olive Garden manager that was fired for sending an angry email to employees.
No, I have not heard about that.
So let's just let Mark Walsh, he's a Daily Wire fourth stringer, let's let him explain.
Okay, let's see.
A manager at an Olive Garden in Kansas has been fired after sending an angry email to employees telling them that they may not call out of work for any reason. And if they claim that their dog died as an excuse for coming to work, they have to bring the dead dog in as proof. Now, the manager, whose name has not been published, thankfully, was fired, and most people have applauded the decision after the email went viral. But I'm on the manager's side of this.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Why am I not surprised?
I mean, could you imagine, like, seeing that email? And, look, okay. Managers at an Olive Garden are not, society's elites, okay? They're not making significantly more than their servers are. And so they're, just, to a certain extent, they're just regular people. And this was probably a low point for this person. They probably were really upset about something, who knows? Adam and I have both worked in service industry, and it can be very stressful.
I even served as a shift manager for a while in a fast food industry. So, I got a little taste of it. Like I am pretty familiar with like what the general managers and those type go through. And yeah, you're right. I mean, obviously there's power dynamics at play there. They have more power than the workers in the restaurants, but in the grand scheme of the economy, they're pretty low.
Yeah,
sure.
And they have to. I mean, and in most cases, they have to work hard.
Right. This is not a management type of position where they don't have to work.
Right.
Typically they do, and it would not be until you get to higher like levels in the corporate chain or other or like the owners, the franchisees. Now, yes, in those cases they're not having to work. But your regular general manager at a restaurant,
they have to work, and they have to work hard, and they have to work more than most of their employees.
And a lot of times what it is they take employees who are servers and cooks and stuff like that. If they find one that has management potential, quote unquote, they try to talk them into going into management, partially so they can work them more, but at a salary as opposed to an hourly rate, right? Yeah. And so if you got somebody who's working 50 hours a week, put them on salary, call them a manager, and then you can work them as much overtime as you want. And I've seen that a lot in the service industry.
Yeah, I've had to put shifts together, and I have been like the lead person during multiple shifts, and so I have felt the frustration of somebody calling in for what I presume was probably a BS reason, right? But it's also Olive Garden. It's a minimum wage job. Those servers are making $2 an hour. Olive Garden gives them $2 an hour for their time. And so, you know what? Like, as the person who has to do the shift when somebody calls out, like, that sucks. But Olive Garden doesn't get, they can't expect to get more than a $2 an hour commitment. And I got to tell you, right now, my commitment that you would get from me for $2 an hour is pretty low.
Well, Jacob, doesn't that impugn your work ethic, sir?
Right.
Well, that aside, I mean, I was just reading over the actual text of the email, and this person is talking about how they got in a wreck on the way to work. Airbags went off and everything. The car was totaled. But they still showed up to work on time.
Yeah. Well, now that is brain worms.
Right. Yeah. Like, okay, that's not you being a dedicated hard worker. I'm all about being a dedicated hard worker. That's not even normal. That's not right. That should be like a red flag. And I hope that, like, upon reflection, they reread that sentence and think, you know what? I have some weird priorities in my life.
Yeah,
I put Olive Garden above my own like personal well-being, personal safety.
Right.
Yeah, it's
and think about
weird.
that. Like this person, I don't know if male or female, this person was let go after 11 and a half years of Darden because of this email. And I don't know how much, but like, I don't know how much other issues that they had with this person from this email. Probably, I would assume, like, they were not an easy person to work for, right? But that is kind of like, wow, one
Isn't
email.
that proof? Isn't that proof
Right.
of like the just the folly of having such loyalty to these companies that have no loyalty to you? Unless you have due process in law or union contract, you can be fired as an at-will employee and they do not give a shit about you, no matter how long you've worked there, no matter how dedicated you are. That's business. What was it the UMWA guy said earlier today? Something about the bottom line is always going to be on top of people.
Right.
And that's it.
Yeah. In the comments, we've got Charles says, referring to these to the managers, you do manual labor and you manage. I was a manager at Papa John's and worked 7 days a week, was averaging about $7 an hour. People used to regularly threaten to hurt us over messed up pizzas. People would scream at us. Workers called in every day. Very stressful. Obviously, very stressful. And so, like,
I saw that a lot too.
The email, totally inappropriate. If this was it, do I think that this person deserves to be fired? I don't know. That's tough for me, especially if this is true. 11 and a half years, that's rough, right? That's rough. And no doubt, this person probably worked, Charles, like you, not making a lot of money, working all the time. And so this is not to email, totally inappropriate, and this person needs to get their priorities in order. But none of this is to say that this person didn't work hard. But let's actually read.
Well, and in general, I usually am against firing someone, especially who has a length of service, over a mistake.
Right. So let's actually read the email, though. Our call-offs are occurring at a staggering rate. From now on, if you call off, you might as well go out and look for another job. We are no longer tolerating any excuse for calling off. If you're sick, you need to come prove it to us. If you're, like, what, by sneezing on you? If your dog died, you need to bring him in and prove it to us. If it's a, quote, family emergency and you can't say, too bad, go work somewhere else. If you only want morning shifts, too bad, go work at a bank. If anyone from here on out calls out more than once in the next 30 days, you will not have a job. Do you know in my 11 and a half years at Darden how many days I called off? 0. Psychotic. Insane. Looney Tunes. I came in sick, not healthy. I do not want my server or my cook or anyone in the restaurant to be sick while I'm eating their food. Ew. Gross. What the hell? Why? I got in a wreck. That's like a health violation, right? Like you can't, you're not supposed to do that.
Right.
You're not supposed to do that.
And maybe she should be wondering if Darden is providing sufficient sick leave.
Yeah.
So she didn't have to do such a thing.
I got in a wreck literally on my way to work one time. Airbags went off and my car was totaled, but you know what? I made it to work on time. Again, psychotic. There are no more excuses. Us collectively as a management team have had enough. If you don't want to work here, don't. It's as simple as that. If you're here and want to work, then work. No more complaining about not being cut or not being able to leave early. And this is a thing that I have a real issue with in the service industry, because on nights where you should not be keeping the entire serving staff on through the whole shift, because as the rush leaves, you should be letting servers go, because servers only make $2 an hour. So if they don't have tables, or they don't have as many tables, they don't get paid, right? You should not be having a full serving staff all the way to close. You should be cutting people. And that was one of the punishments that we got when there were too many people calling out, or whatever. That was one of the punishments. Was literally a pay cut for a matter of a few weeks by keeping more people on for longer. And that's inappropriate. If you're here and want to work, then work. No more complaining about not being cut or being able to leave early. You're in the restaurant business. Do you think I want to be here until midnight on Friday and Saturday? No, I'd much rather be at home with my husband and dog, going to the movies or seeing family, but I don't. I'm dedicated to being here, as should you. No more excuses or complaints. I hope you choose to continue to work here, and I think we, management, make it as easy as we can on y'all. Doubt it. Thank you for your time, and to those who come in every day on time and work hard, I wish there were more like you. Psychotic email.
I'm dedicated to being here, as should you.
Right.
I'm selling a fraction of my time and my labor power in exchange for a wage that's not very good.
Yeah.
Okay? There's not a lot of dedication that needs to go into that. And I'm someone who's always tried to do a good job, even when I worked at these crappy jobs in certain restaurants that were underpaying me and overworking me. You know what? I still tried to do the best I could because that's just how I am. My mama raised me, always work hard, no matter what. And so that's what I've always tried to do. But, like, come on now.
Right.
Dedication.
Right.
It's just, it is bizarre.
And that's, like you said, that's fine enough. And I work hard. I try to work hard, and I think it's good to work hard. And I don't think it's good. If you're gonna work, you should put in some amount of effort. But also, the companies should pay you for your effort. And if they don't want to do that, then what do you expect? I'm not gonna give you $30 of effort for $2. I'm just not. And similarly,
they're not going to give you $30 an hour for $2 effort, right?
Exactly. They're not going to give me as a customer $30 of food for $2 either.
Right.
So it never, ever, ever goes the other way. Workers are always implicitly or explicitly told to work above what they're being compensated for. Always work as hard as you can, work above and beyond, and blah, 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 blah.
And come in sick.
Yeah, come in sick to a restaurant.
Even if you are dealing with the public, even if you're handling food, you should come in sick.
Yeah, come in sick to a restaurant. Gross. But it's never expected for the company to pay you more than the value you create. It's never expected for a company to pay you or to give you more goods or services than you pay for. That's just never the case. It's always workers who have to give more than we're being compensated for, and that's just ridiculous. Mark Walsh explains why he doesn't. Why he is on the side of the manager. So let's hear him out. Maybe I don't know. Maybe there's something that we're not thinking of. Let's play this first clip.
The point is that there is reason to object to this manager's message to employees if you insist on taking it absolutely literally. But a more charitable interpretation is that this person is trying to run a restaurant and yet is sabotaged every step of the way by spoiled, entitled brats who want a paycheck but don't want to put the work in to earn it. And these are frustrations shared by a great many managers in the restaurant and retail space and other industries. Call-outs and no-shows are at an all-time high. And it's not because everyone's dogs are dying all of a sudden. It's not because there's a record number of family emergencies. If it's a medical emergency driving this problem, the medical emergency is a severe allergy to hard work. I think that's the real epidemic happening here. This is an affliction which has spread across an entire generation and beyond. And the people who are trying desperately to keep our economy afloat by keeping these businesses open, they're fed up and they're furious. And as I've often preached, life requires work. Life is work. I wish it wasn't that way, but it is. The only question is whether you will do the work necessary to sustain your own existence, or if you'll find a way to force someone else to do it for you.
That last part was interesting. I wanted to leave that in there because that's like, so are you going to do the work or are you going to be a boss, right? That's the thing.
Right.
That's the real thing. He's meaning it as, are you going to do the work or are you going to be some lousy welfare queen or blah, 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 blah. That's what he's meaning it as. But of course, working people actually know that the real thing is we do the work and the people at the top make the money. That's the thing. Rail workers are the ones pushing the trains across the country, and Warren Buffett's making all the money, right? That's the actual dynamic. That is the real life dynamic. Every day across the country is that workers do the work and bosses make the money. Bosses make the money. But that's not what he means. He also mentioned as the clip started that call-outs are at an all-time high. How would one even assess such a thing? How does he know that?
Well, I'm sure he's very up on the latest industry trends and data. Wouldn't you know? They take journalistic integrity very seriously over there at the Daily Wire.
Yeah. $30 super chat from Bigalameo. Thank you. Drop some love for the Valley Labor Report, fellow plebs. Sid says the point of these right-wing shows is to be for the bosses. Being transphobic is just the cherry on top. And that's what we want to point out for these people. Like, I want, I hope that we get some people, because usually when we talk about these people, sometimes we'll get in their algorithm, and some of these folks will come and they'll be like really angry, right? That that I'm insulting their favorite personality, whatever. But you've got a lot more in common with the person whose dog may or may not die and doesn't come in at Olive Garden than you do with people like Mark Walsh. And that's the thing. That is the thing that you need to understand. And you do have a lot in common with this manager, but the manager is taking the side of corporate. They're not showing solidarity with people that work like her. They're taking solidarity with corporate, and that's the issue. And that's what people like this Walsh person that's what they're doing. Let's play the next clip.
Door number 2 was never available to most humans who have lived on the planet, but it is available for us. Okay? Because as it turns out, the system that really controls things, this is what they want. They want you to be a lazy good-for-nothing, just coasting through life with no ambition, no real desires, no plan, nothing. They want you to be satisfied with being merely fed and distracted. That's what they want. So they've made this option available to us. And you think you could protest that system by doing exactly what they want, by becoming the sort of person they want you to be, which is like a non-person, a non-entity, just a big nothing who...
What system is he talking about that wants people not to work? Like, how, this is what not understanding. This is what not understanding or pretending not to understand. I don't know which it is for this guy, right? I'm not sure if he actually really believes that the system, whatever that may be, doesn't want us to work. I don't know if he actually believes that or if he just pretends to believe that, because pretending to believe that plays into what you were talking about earlier in the show, Adam, the turning of working class into a cultural conservative affect. Turning working class not into, analyzing society based on cultural affects, not on people's relation to productivity, not on people's relation to the economy or their work, whether they work or somebody works for them, not analyzing the economy or society based on that, but based on whether they hate trans people enough. So if you because this analysis is totally disconnected from reality.
Well, the one thing I'll say that he mentioned that did sort of resonate is talking about, the system more or less wants you to be content just being fed and distracted. Well, okay, there's some truth to that. I would say that yes, capital would prefer that we be content with the bare minimum amount to be fed and distractions. That's why over the last 50 years we've seen wages stagnate or decline, and healthcare skyrocket, housing skyrocket, but you can have Netflix or Hulu. right? You have almost endless distractions that are at our fingertips now. It's so much cheaper now to afford a computer, a flat screen TV, to get access to all the streaming. That is where we've seen prices go down and where technology has really grown, and it is in the field of distraction.
Yeah.
So, maybe he is onto something a little bit there, but he's talking about phenomena that is neoliberal capitalism.
And neoliberal capitalism does not they want you to be content and not ask for more, but they do not want you to not work.
Right.
You have to work.
Outside of a reserve army of unemployed, and which,
Right.
again, there is a segment of society that will be unemployed, and that is on purpose, because as long as there's unemployed folks, well, that's always leverage for the employer. I think oftentimes these far right cranks will touch on things that can resonate, but from the wrong direction, or they're describing the consequences of their own ideologies.
Right. Charles says he's projecting a weird existential shadow of his ideology.
Yeah, projection is a lot of what this is about.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.